Ethan Harrington was a man who could buy anything, except authenticity. At 35, he was the kind of billionaire people whisper about in business journals and gossip about at high society parties. His name carried weight, his face graced magazines, and his empire stretched across continents. Yet, for all the boardrooms he conquered and the millions he made in minutes, there was one thing that seemed forever out of reach: real love. Women adored him, yes, but often for the wrong reasons. They admired the private jets, the penthouses, the lavish gifts. They marveled at the way his last name opened doors like a golden key. Yet beneath the sharp suits and the aura of success, Ethan longed for someone who could see him as Ethan, not as Harrington the billionaire. So, one crisp autumn evening, standing by the window of his Manhattan penthouse, Ethan made a decision that startled even himself. He would disappear, at least from the world of wealth. He would shed the designer suits, trade in his sleek sports car for something ordinary, and live as a regular man. If love was meant for him, it had to come without the shadow of his money. The very next week, Ethan's transformation began. He packed away the tailored Armani jackets and slipped into a plain hoodie, worn jeans, and sneakers that hadn't seen the light of day since college. He bought a second-hand Toyota Camry that rattled when it started and rented a modest one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. To complete the disguise, he trimmed his hair, let a faint stubble grow, and adopted the simple rhythms of ordinary life. Gone was the billionaire who commanded boardrooms. In his place stood Ethan, the anonymous man who no one would glance at twice on a crowded street. It was during his first week of this experiment that he met her. Her name was Lily Bennett, a 28-year-old elementary school teacher whose life was painted in quiet shades of resilience. She lived in the same apartment building, on the floor just below his. Their paths crossed in the simplest of ways, a chance meeting in the laundry room. Ethan had never done laundry himself before. His staff had always taken care of such things. But now, standing with basket clothes in hand, he found himself staring blankly at the humming machines. "You're holding those like they're about to explode," a soft, amused voice said. Ethan turned and saw her. Lily stood with her own basket balanced on her hip, her brown hair pulled into a loose ponytail, strands falling around her face. She had kind eyes, the kind that looked at you, not through you, and a smile that wasn't polished or practiced, but real. I'm new at this," Ethan admitted, chuckling awkwardly. "Never really learned the art of laundry." Lily tilted her head, studying him. "It's not rocket science, I promise. Whites, colors, detergent, that's about it. You'll survive." He smiled, feeling something stir in him, something unfamiliar and refreshing. For once, he wasn't being stared at like a prize to be won. To her, he was just another man fumbling through life's basics. That night, Ethan found himself replaying the moment again and again. Her laugh, the way she teased him without judgment, the way her presence seemed to cut through the loneliness he had carried for years. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more often, on the creaky staircase in the lobby at the neighborhood cafe where Lily liked to grade her students' papers over coffee. Slowly, conversations stretched longer. She learned that he was working in freelance consulting, a vague truth he used to avoid revealing his empire, and he learned that she loved children, books, and had a stubborn streak of independence. The more he learned, the deeper he fell. But Ethan knew the fragile balance he had created. This bond they were building was real only because she didn't know who he truly was. What would happen if she ever discovered the truth, that the man she was helping with laundry was in fact one of the richest men in the country? For now, he kept the secret close to his chest. But fate, as it often does, had plans of its own. Ethan never thought ordinary life could feel so extraordinary. His mornings began with the aroma of coffee drifting from Lily's apartment below, his afternoons filled with brief exchanges in the lobby, and his evenings often ended with her laughter echoing in his mind. For the first time in years, he wasn't surrounded by investors, assistants, or admirers. Instead, he found himself listening to Lily talk about her students' mischievous antics or the way the fall leaves painted the city streets in shades of amber. She had a way of turning simple moments into treasures. But beneath the warmth, Ethan carried a weight, his secret. Every time she asked him about his consulting work, he scrambled to keep his answers vague. He spoke of project and clients, carefully avoiding details. She didn't pry much. Lily respected boundaries. But sometimes her curious gaze lingered on him, as though she sensed there was more he wasn't saying. One evening, they walked through Prospect Park together. The city skyline glowed in the distance, and Lily carried a thermos of hot chocolate that she insisted on sharing. "So," she said, handing him the cup, "you've been here a while now, but you're still a mystery. Most people talk about their work. You? Not so much." Ethan took a sip, stalling. "That's because most people's jobs are more exciting than mine. Trust me, consulting is boring." She arched an eyebrow. "Boring doesn't look like that smile you just gave me. You're hiding something." Her tone was playful, but Ethan's heart thudded. Did she know? Could she sense the empire he was concealing beneath his hoodie and jeans? "I guess I like keeping parts of myself private," he said carefully. "But I promise I'm not a spy or anything." She laughed, the sound easing his tension. "Good. I'd hate to find out I've been walking through the park with some international man of mystery." Still, her words lingered. The deeper he fell, the harder it became to hide who he really was. The first ray all crack appeared on a Friday evening. Ethan had promised to meet Lily for dinner at a cozy Italian place in the neighborhood. He arrived early, wanted to surprise her with a table already set. But as he walked in, a man in a tailored suit approached him. "Mr. Harrington," the man exclaimed, extending his hand. "I had no idea you were in this part of town. We've been trying to reach you about the Westbrook deal." Ethan's blood ran cold. He shook the man's hand quickly, whispering through gritted teeth, "Not here. Not now." The man looked confused but nodded, excusing himself. Ethan sat at the table, his mind racing. What if Lily had seen? What if she recognized his name? Minutes later, she arrived, radiant as always in a simple blue dress that matched her eyes. She slid into the chair opposite him, smiling. "Sorry I'm late. Grading took longer than I thought." Ethan forced a smile, but his chest tightened when she said casually, "Who was that man you were talking to?" He looked important. Panic fluttered in his stomach. "Oh, just an old acquaintance. Nothing serious." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." Her trust cut deeper than her suspicion ever could. The second crack came the following week, when Ethan's phone buzzed during one of their coffee dates. He usually kept it on silent, but this time he forgot. The screen lit up with a message from his assistant. "Urgent. Board wants final decision on London acquisition. Call ASAP, Mr. Harrington." He flipped the phone face down immediately, but not before Lily caught a glimpse. "Mr. Harrington?" she repeated softly, frowning. "I thought your last name was Hale." Ethan froze. In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. He scrambled for an explanation, words tumbling awkwardly. "It's a nickname. Old college friends still use it sometimes." She didn't look convinced, but she let it slide, her smile faint and distracted. Ethan knew he was running out of time. Secrets had a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply buried. And this secret wasn't small, it was colossal. Yet, despite the lies, despite the danger of being exposed, Ethan couldn't stay away from Lily. He was falling for her in ways he never thought possible. The way she lit up when talking about her students. The way she valued kindness over status. The way she saw beauty in the ordinary. These were the very things he'd been searching for all his life. And so he kept playing the part, pretending to be the ordinary man she believed he was, even as guilt gnawed at him. But soon, fate would decide for him, because love built on disguise can only stay hidden for so long. Ethan knew it couldn't last forever. Lies never did. But he hoped, foolishly, that he might have more time, that maybe, just maybe, he could win Lily's heart before the truth tore everything apart. Fate had other plans. It happened on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Lily had invited Ethan to a charity event at the community center where she volunteered. The place buzzed with life. Children laughing, volunteers setting up games, and Lily, radiant as ever, moving gracefully among the crowd. Ethan was helping stack boxes of donated books when it happened. A local news crew arrived to cover the event. Cameras flashed, microphones pointed, And in the middle of it all, a reporter turned sharply toward Ethan. "Ethan Harrington?" she said in surprise. "The Ethan Harrington, CEO of Harrington Global?" The room stilled. Lily froze, her smile faltering. Dozens of eyes turned to him. Ethan's heart dropped. The mask had been ripped away. "Yes," he admitted softly, the words heavy as lead. "That's me." The reporter immediately began firing questions about his empire, his wealth, his presence at the small event. But Ethan barely heard her. His gaze locked on Lily, whose expression was a storm of disbelief, betrayal, and hurt. When the reporter finally moved on, Lily walked up to him, her voice trembling. "Ethan Harrington," she whispered, as though testing the name on her lips. "You lied to me. All this time you lied." "Lily, please," he said desperately, reaching for her hand. "I didn't mean to deceive you. I wanted you to see me. Not the money, not the billionaire. Just me." Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she pulled away. "Do you know how humiliating this feels? Everyone else knew you. Everyone but me. Do you have any idea what it's like to realize the person you trusted most was pretending?" Ethan's chest tightened with guilt. "I never meant to hurt you. I swear. But she shook her head, her voice breaking. "I can't do this. I can't love someone who built our relationship on lies." And just like that, she walked away, leaving Ethan standing alone in a crowded room, the rain outside mirroring the storm inside his heart. The days that followed were hollow. Ethan returned to his penthouse, his suits, his boardrooms, but none of it mattered. His empire felt like an empty cage, and the fortune that once brought him pride now seemed like chains. He tried calling, texting, even showing up at Lily's door, but she wouldn't answer. She had drawn a line, and he had crossed it. For weeks, Ethan lived in silence, haunted by her absence, until one evening, he received an envelope. It wasn't from a lawyer or a business associate. It was from Lily. Her letter was short, but each word pierced his heart. "Ethan, I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I also can't stop thinking about the man I laughed with, walked with, and trusted. I don't care about Harrington Global or your billions. I cared about you, the real you. If you can be that man without the lies, maybe we can find our way back." Ethan didn't hesitate. He left the penthouse, the chauffeur, the empire, everything. He drove his battered Camry to Brooklyn, stood at Lily's doorstep, and knocked. When she opened the door, her eyes softened at the sight of him. Not the billionaire, but the man in worn jeans and a hopeful smile. "I'm here," he said simply. "No more lies. Just me." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she stepped aside, leaving the door open. And in that small gesture, Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't Ethan Harrington, billionaire. He was just Ethan, the man who had found love in disguise.